Hey guys, so this is What If Deku was a Green Lantern Part 2. Now guys, basically Part 1 came out a couple months ago, and I'm doing Part 2 because, well, I just want to do Part 2, and it's a pretty good What If, and I'm just going to dive right into it. There's not really any much to say. Let's just dive right into it. Last time I left off where Deku went back to his house after pretty much the training with Kilowatt, his mentor in this universe. Also, him getting the Green Lantern ring, blah, yada yada yada, all part 1. Basically, him getting used to his powers, him nearly mastering the Green Lantern skill, and also him voting or straight up just teaching Bakugo a lesson in the quirk assessments in episode 1 or in part 1. So let's dive right into it. Part 2. We start our story off with Deku walking back to school after a good night of sleep or good night of rest that he had after pretty much going to UA for the first day. After that, we see that Deku walks into class 1A and he glares at Bakugo. Bakugo glares back at him, but basically shortly takes his attention away. After a couple more minutes of Zao teaching class, All Might eventually arrives. All Might arrives and pretty much takes out a clicker or a button and basically shows off a bunch of briefcases that come out of the wall, pretty much showcasing the students' hero costumes. Deku wrote down not to have any hero costume because he already has one, the Green Lantern suit, but he suggested in getting one. So in case Deku's powers were ever knocked out, or in case he was ever exposed to a Green Lantern weakness, basically Deku has black jeans, green versions of his red shoes with the Green Lantern logo stitched on the sides of them, and basically pretty much a green bulletproof vest with the Green Lantern logo on the shoulder of the vest and on the front of the chest of the vest. Basically just giving Deku an extra coat of protection if his powers are ever to be tampered with, or he just lost control and he just, his form was just lost. So basically stuff like that. But basically we'll barely be seeing that. Maybe it might work in there, but basically what happened is Deku would have put on this bulletproof vest and would have been pretty, lightweight. Actually pretty lightweight. So when they got out there, Deku just, powered up with his Green Lantern suit, saying that it was a hero costume, and basically him walking out there. Now, basically, he would have said that the Green Lantern suit is merged into a support item. So basically, most of the students believed it. So pretty much after that, the rest of the class would have gotten in a line and would have been teamed up, partner to partner, to go up against partner to partner villains and heroes, combat training, just like in canon. Deku would have been teamed up with Ochaku, just like in canon. And guys, originally I didn't say what ship to be with this, but I most likely will ship Deku with Momo. We'll ship Deku with Ochaku, or something new. I might ship, maybe. It's a big if. I might ship him with somebody from class 1B. So it might happen, but it's up to you guys. So basically, pretty much what happened is Deku would have gotten ready, would have stretched and stuff, and pretty much when the combat training began, when the mission began, Deku told Ochaku to run the other way and pretty much try to gain as much attention as she possibly can. They try to draw Bakugo from her tail. If that doesn't work and Bakugo's too stubborn and doesn't want to go after you and wants to come after me, just run upstairs and go for Ida. She obliges, and Deku pretty much camps out for a couple minutes as Ochaku tries to get the attention of Bakugo. Bakugo doesn't really care about her and just wants to get his hands on Deku. So she basically eventually notices this after 10 minutes of her yelling and throwing rocks at Bakugo, mostly Bakugo dodging the rocks and paying little or no attention to her. So Deku notices this because the building is kind of played out a little bit differently. It's like a huge balcony area that's going straight up that you can see on different floors, and he saw this. So basically, pretty much Deku just sprinted up there, knowing that Bakugo was looking for him, and basically started to try to find Bakugo to end this. As Ochaku would go up the stairs to try to go up against Ida, just like in canon. or would have tried to fight Ida by herself and get the bomb, as Deku was handling Bakugo. As Deku came across Bakugo, them walking across paths in the hallway, pretty much Bakugo has said, "You little nerd, your quirk was supposed to be weak, pathetic. You're basically quirkless. How do you have all this power all of a sudden?" Deku says, "Maybe I just didn't want to tell you. Maybe I guessed you weren't worthy enough to know what my quirk was." Bakugo got peed off by this and pretty much said, "Say that one more time. Nerd." Basically, Deku saying, "Nerd, really?" It's kind of a stupid and also uncreative insult. Pretty much, he shoots Bakugo in the face with a huge energy blast. Bakugo gets sent flying through multiple windows, walls, and also some pillars. So basically, Bakugo is nearly knocked out. Bakugo pits together all of his strength in his body to overcome the sore and bruised muscles he got, and pretty much he gets into a fighting stance, conjuring up some explosions in his fist and his hands. He throws some explosions and some fists, basically Deku dodging most of those attacks, and pretty much him punching Bakugo up, down, left, right, just straight up just, going all, spoiler alert, pretty much just fighting him kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home at the end of the movie. If you know, you know. And basically, it was basically like Tom Holland and Green Goblin at the end of the movie. If you know, you know. Basically, he was just putting hands on Bakugo. Him using his constructs to pretty much make kind of a robotic or Iron Man constructs around both of his hands. Him making his hands a lot more harder, durable, and move way faster because it would be boosters at the end of the constructs of his pretty much gauntlet hands. He would have been throwing hands with Bakugo left and right, Bakugo trying to fight back, but eventually Bakugo just went all out and pulled both of the gauntlets on his arms and basically sent him flying, but he stopped halfway through after he flew back 6 feet, and Deku was flown out of the building. Deku flew right back in, torpedoing right, like directly towards Bakugo. Bakugo narrowly dodged out the way, him taking off his gauntlets since they were kind of, well, fried because he had them both close to each other. They weren't broken, but they were completely empty. He threw him on the ground and started to get off, try to get into a fist fight with Deku. Deku would have looked at Bakugo after, Bakugo missed him, and Deku would have flown right back towards Bakugo. He would have landed, and he pretty much would have gotten into a fighting stance. Him wearing some, hand-to-hand combat and some alien type of karate from Kilowatt. So basically, he started to fight with Bakugo. They started to throw kicks, flips, and also started to fight basically like Black Widows from Marvel. Basically, them going all pretty much trapeze style fighting. Basically, Bakugo being a little bit more grounded than Deku. Deku would have started to fight Bakugo left and right. Deku eventually dodging most of his attacks, and eventually getting one finishing blow, uppercutting Bakugo halfway through the fight. Bakugo was out for the count and fell onto the ground like a ragdoll. Deku would have sprinted right back up the stairs, going for Ida next, and pretty much Ida would have been, well, actually in this canon, would have actually taken down Ochaku instead of Ochaku making the whole entire ground flow and Ida running away from her. Ida would have just kicked her upside the chest while she was in midair and would have hit her against a pillar, knocking her out. About 10 minutes before Deku burst through the door into the room. Deku would have looked around, and Deku would have seen Ida. Ida would have had the bomb in his hands, and Ida would have looked at Deku putting the bomb down and getting into a fighting stance. Deku would have gotten into a fighting stance, and they would have started to go at it, them running towards each other at full speed. Ida would have tried to kick and pretty much, shove Deku out of the room, and pretty much Deku wasn't taking it. He made a force field around himself and just started to tank Ida. Ida tried to stop him multiple times, trying to kick through the construct left and right, but nothing was working, and Deku just let out a huge burst of energy, pretty much making his shield bigger and pushing Ida back into a pillar and knocking him out. Pretty much Deku would run towards the bomb, grab it, and hero team would win, villain team would lose. After that, Deku and Ochaku would have been, basically crowned the MVPs, and that's where they would win. Pretty much, Deku would have gotten a pretty good score and would have handled the situation pretty good, giving some sort of good plan towards Ochaku. But basically, in the end, Deku just handled it all by himself. And basically, after that, we see that Deku would have been walking back home. Before he walked back home, Ochaku would try to talk to him. In this can, her being a little bit more, well, her actually gaining feelings for Deku way faster, and basically her kind of flirting with Deku, and kind of not intentionally trying to force that, not force, but pretty much trying to, well, nudge Deku into asking around. Deku catched on to this and just acted smug, or just after just catched on it really fast and said, "You want to go out?" Basically, they exchanged numbers, and pretty much that's gonna be the ship, or maybe the ship. We don't know yet, cause Ochaki just wanted to go out, but instead of her saying that, she said hang out. So Deku thought it was kind of a friend type of thing, but Deku also did have kind of a attraction towards Ochaku, but not too much to actually consider dating her yet. So pretty much Deku just, well, said goodnight to Ochaku, and they met their separate ways when they walked to their house. Deku would have flown back to his house and would have said goodnight to his mom, or in the meanwhile, when his mom fell asleep that night, Deku would fly back to his base or back to the Green Barn, and basically would have flew in there. Deku would have opened the door there, and he would have looked around, and he would have seen a pretty much some sort of alien. This alien would have looked at Deku and basically said, "Green Lantern ring on planet Earth. It's been so long." Pretty much the alien would have looked like some sort of puff of yellow smoke. Something weird. Pretty much he would have said, "It's been so nice talking to you, boy." Pretty much Deku saying, "Talking? You just said one sentence to me." Pretty much the creature, the alien, looked at Deku and said, I'm the embodiment of fear. I'm what the fear core is made out of." Deku's confused and says, "What?" Deku kind of remembers, how Kilowatt talked about other cores and other sectors, about different Green Lantern rings, and pretty much what was a smoke alien was actually a core member of the Sinestro Corps, or the Fear Corps. Basically, he would have morphed his body into he would have morphed his body into a human form, and basically this human form would have looked similar to a let's just say a straight up yellow, like straight up a yellow skinned, black haired version of Deku. Basically yellow skin as in the color yellow. So basically pretty much it was kind of just a version of Deku with just the same skin tone as the Green Lantern Sinestro ring, and pretty much with the Green Lantern Sinestro core suit. And pretty much this alien was a shapeshifter, and in this version, this alien would be the core founder of the Sinestro Corps. Because in the comics, Sinestro made the Sinestro Corps. That's why it's named him. But basically, the Sinestro Corps was pretty much founded by Sinestro, but was only sorry, it was confusing. Basically, Sinestro in this universe. Some plot reason the Sinestro Corps is still named the Sinestro Corps, but Sinestro never used the Fear Ring, he just made them. So pretty much later on, Sinestro would go up against Deku, and the whole entire thing would happen. Eventually, probably in part 4. And basically, pretty much Deku would have looked at the alien. The alien would have looked kind of like a clone version of Deku, just with, black hair, glowing black eyes, black eyes and glowing yellow pupils. And pretty much Deku would have looked at it. Pretty much the alien would have said, and would have aged out Deku's body to look like a 20-year-old version of Deku with a black beard. And basically Deku, like a black goatee, I guess. And pretty much the alien would have looked at Deku and would have said, "Better." And basically he would have hit Deku with a huge blast of energy. It would have started to make fear constructs of monsters and other folklore entities that Deku was afraid of as a child. Deku got back up, pretty much seeing the fear, and was starting to get overwhelmed. the alien started to hit Deku with everything, every fear construct, every single thing he can ever think of. Swords, knives, snakes, bullets, rails, even people he knows, like constructs of his mother saying that she hated him and that he was nothing but a failure. Pretty much memories being pushed into his head. Because in this universe, the Celestial Core was able to make constructs so believable, so if their opponent was in fear, those constructs will look as real as possible, not just see through yellow versions of that object. So basically, Deku started to push back, trying to say, no, this isn't real. Him making force fields around him, trying to fend off the fear. Basically, Deku would have used this, adrenaline would have forced his body instinctively to use his will quirk, basically as a last minute to try to save him. And this with the boost of his Green Lantern ring, since he did land into his barn with the Green Lantern rings on and him suited up, Deku's powers would have burst into God level. Because Deku's willpower with his quirk is unstoppable. So Deku's willpower is already unbelievably strong and good. Probably stronger than, most likely it is stronger than pretty much, what is it? It is stronger than, I can't remember his name. The first human Green Lantern, but in this universe he's just a Green Lantern that is an alien, but his alien species is exactly like humans. Basically, I don't know his name. Sorry, guys. But basically, pretty much, Deku pretty much would have seen this. Him seeing that his ring was glowing as bright as ever, blinding him and the pretty much alien. The alien would have been fell back, or would have fell back. Him looking at Deku, and Deku basically glowing with bright light. Basically, him being enveloped in light, looking like something made out of pure energy with the Green Lantern's logo on his chest. Deku's light would have dimmered down, basically his suit just glowing kind of like this, and pretty much his eyes glowing bright green. Deku would have looked at pretty much this alien and would have said, will overpowers everything, even fear. He holds out his hands, and a huge, devastating blast of energy blasts the alien into smithereens, disintegrating it. The alien was able to shapeshift his way out of this near-death, almost dying situation, and was able to get away in a puff of smoke. And pretty much, it was blasted near the grass area. So basically, the forest area around Deku's barn, was completely scorched, burnt, and like a huge Kamehameha type of blast was like engraved into the woods. But it was like towards a designated area, into the water, into the pond. So basically, didn't really, hurt anybody other than the alien. The alien would have scurried away, trying to get back to his spaceship. It got to Earth, and pretty much would have started to recuperate there, trying to regenerate its body from the puff of smoke it shapeshifted into. As it shapeshifted into his physical form, it would just be a piece of that. It would just be the alien's brain. The alien would have started to regenerate itself slowly, and that's how that alien will come into the picture later. But that's where I'm going to show you the full. Now, basically, in part 3, I'll show you the full extent of Deku's willpower. But just a bit short, with Deku using his willpower with his willpower enhancing quirk, he's basically kind of a god with the Green Lantern ring. So basically, pretty much, Deku's willpower plus his ability of pretty much already having a really good heal. Deku's willpower is already phenomenal, and just like way better than Howl's quirk. Howl's willpower, just way more powerful, and way more powerful than any Green Lantern from Earth, or from any other planet or alien species that's Green Lantern. Basically, any other Green Lantern can't go near the willpower Deku has. With Deku's already existing great willpower plus his willpower quirk, he's basically kind of, Goku Ultra Instinct level. I'm sorry, like he's that OP. His constructs are 1,000 times stronger, and nothing can break them. And in this form, his willpower is so strong that he can overcome the guidelines on the Green Lantern ring and kill somebody. And also, with this power, he can also overcome any weakness the Green Lantern ring has, like yellow or the color yellow. So stuff like that. And also being able to overcome anything that is specifically designed to destroy Green Lantern ring. Because the will overpowers everything. And according to DC Comics Wiki, Green Lantern. So basically, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day. See you guys later. And stay safe out there.